let's take you through the grid for the Junior Max and Junior Max Rookie pre-final. Bran van der Weyken starts on pole position. We'll have Boris Maximov alongside on the front row. Lars Lambers and Luca van Leer, row 2. Row 3, Max Sadurski leading rookie after qualifying yesterday, Vince van der Holle. Kimi Mai and Emily Sietkauskas make it an all-German row 4 with Mohamed El Bouzaki and AJ Bergerath completing your top 10. Noorden Engelsman, Storm van Rossum ran at row 6, head of Boris van Hagen and Mickey van Berkel. Lina Munguia and Koen Willems ran at row 8. Priam Lelang and Justin Fonk round out row 9. Marijke Heemstra and I think that is Stephen Wams rounds out your top 20. Sepp Terhorst, Devrim Yater, James van der Poel and Joshua Rejal round out your 24 strong grid. Once again, 10 minutes plus 2 additional laps on the timer. And the sun is, the blue skies have really blessed us with their presence here on Sunday. So what that is also going to help with is track evolution over the course of the remainder of the day. And our last race is due to start at 3:45 p.m. today, which will be the final for KZ2. So the drivers will now start getting into their 2x2 rolling start formation ahead of 10 minutes, plus 2 additional laps. Van der Weyken and Maximov on the front row of the grid. So Maximov will now have to pull alongside the number 296 from Belgium. Of course, this is probably the last time before the Grand Finals that we see Boris Maximov in a junior before he heads to senior next year. Now the game's afoot. Red lights on the gantry. Drivers once again told to separate and to slow down, as we will head into the tram lines. Revs rise. The pre-final for juniors does not get going because the lights did not go out. It's another formation lap. So just like the previous 2 pre-finals, we have had 1 full start, but on the second, everything has gone to plan and the racing gets underway. With a significant dry line starting to show on the circuit, it is going to be the case now of, is it at that point where, you know, earlier on in the day when the conditions were a little bit colder, you could understand them deciding to go for what would be the Mojo W5 CIKs, but if they are on the slicks, it is the Mojo D2XX. And drivers aged between 12 to 15, so it's the year of their 12th birthday. But normally you'll see juniors do 2, maybe 3 years, then move up into our next class, which will be senior Rotax. So the 24 junior Rotax drivers get themselves back into the rolling start formation. Van der Weyken on pole, Maximov alongside. Red lights on the gantry. Out of the final corner, through the tram lines, revs rise, lights are out, and the pre-final gets going right now. Who's going to hit the first corner first? Well, At the moment, it looks like Bran van der Weyken, but I think Max Swiderski has steamrolled his way up the inside and gets through for the race lead. So a good bit of work there from the man that started pretty much 5th on the grid. On row 3 is a multi-cart pile-up coming out of 2. One's got a very, very bent axle. That's going to be the number 204, I think, of Sepp Terhorst. As there is, well, Sepp Terhorst has gotten away with that. And one of the other drivers, that's AJ Berggraaf in the 271 and Lionel Munguia. And you can see that AJ Berggraaf was hopping mad up and down in the seat, as if to say, oh, I don't need this. That's very much the case. But at the moment, it is the case that the positional changes have happened at the front end of the field. And after the opening lap, well, Bran van der Weyken is back in the race lead. However, battle for P3, that's Lambers versus Swiderski. And that's definitely got a shades of elbows out. And, all right, kart 218, Emir Siedkowska has got the mechanical black flag for chain cover missing. So Siedkowska will have 3 laps, including this one, to park it in the pit lane. And that kart is currently running P10 at the moment. Whilst Van der Weyken is trying to pull away, Maximov is leading the quartet of drivers squabbling over 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And, well, it's Storm van Rossum, I believe, that might be at the back end of that train, behind Max Swiderski, who's dropped down to 4th position. A very, very explosive and feisty opening 2 minutes as the track is continuing to dry. So the drivers will be on the D2 double X's, and Van der Weyken has bolted away into the distance a little bit here by 1.25 seconds after 2 laps. Maximov P2, Lambers 3rd, but Swiderski is trying for a window of opportunity. Tries for the crisscross here out of 2. He's going to steamroll up the inside at 3 and gets past. And with that, there is also his SP Motorsport teammate, not that far behind. So I think at this point, well, it is a case of all for themselves. I think it was actually Storm van Rossum that made that inside overtake, but now the elbow's really very much out and sharpened. So yeah, so Swiderski was the one that made the move. Lieke van Berkel looking rather racy in her own right in the 285. And is looking to the outside of Storm van Rossum. Gets for the undercut there. Beautifully timed move by Lieke van Berkel. And Storm van Rossum has no answer. Here comes Kimi Mai in the 250. Up the inside he goes. And, well, just about lucks in going through turn 1. But now, is he going to get the run through at turn 2? No. Unfortunately, Storm van Rossum had enough traction and enough pace coming out of that second corner that Kimi Mai was left standing. And to the inside goes Koen Willems. For the briefest of moments, runs way too deep into the Utterpalaan. And now, Storm van Rossum going back into battle with Lieke van Berkel. Van Berkel just a little bit wide coming through turn 8. Van Rossum back through. And Patrick Vervist in the YouTube chat on cue as Lieke van Berkel. Oh, and we've got a drama. That is the 205. Steven Vams front end in the barriers at turn 5. Looks like there was an assist on that one, and Vams is out of the race, I'm afraid. So there will be localised yellows at Marshall Post 3. As Storm van Rossum once again steamrolls through on Lieke van Berkel, who once again got through initially. Van Rossum has the fastest lap of the race. 1:07.375, and now is going hunting after Swiderski. Oh, and Koen Willems makes a bit of a misstep. And I think also Vince van der Holle had to get out of, get out of overtaking, because that would have been a no-no under the way things as they stand. Storm van Rossum, I think, has just got back through on Max Swiderski for position, and the two SP Motorsports teammates are side by side. Van Berkel to the outside of turn 10 on Swiderski, as the wind is really, really picking up. The flags flapping around in the breeze, and Van Berkel and Swiderski. Oh, well, this just goes to show Lieke Van Berkel. I remember seeing that young lady as a as a Micromax driver, I think, a couple of years ago. Then halfway through one season, went from micro to mini, and has really started finding her feet as a junior, and especially when you have SV Motorsport in your corner as well at the same point. So now, Ran van der Weyken continues to lead. Emily Siedkowska out, Stephen Bams out. And 22 carts rounded out by the number 271 of AJ Bergeraff in the meantime. It's been a race for Bergeraff and Munguia, unfortunately, to forget. There's now this train that we're seeing through at turn number 9. It's got an OTK leading it at the minute. I think that's probably going to be... It's a little bit further back from what's happening at the front end of the field, because Van der Weyken, with about 3 minutes to go, still leads. Oh, a little bit of checking up. Con Willems, I think, might be one of the drivers involved. That will be with Kimi Mai, Luca van Leer, Boris Verhaag, amongst others. And Kimi Mai trying to get through on Luca van Leer, who has retaken 9th place. With 2.5 minutes to go, anything is possible. And still, the elbows are out, the Stanley knives on the ends of them are well and truly sharpened. However, Boris Maximov is starting to close that gap to Ran van der Weyken, and he just took 0.3 of a second out of him. Fastest lap of the race, Storm van Rossum in P3, 1 minute 5.308. So Storm van Rossum is really ripping his way around the circuit. That's a great effort from the 238. But still, with just over 90 seconds to go, anything can happen here, folks. And there's a tangle at turn 6 of the Europalan. And I'm sure that Luca van Leer is not going to be very, very happy about that. I think that was a tangle, possibly with Koen Willems. They're at breakneck speed into turn 6. And yeah, Willems just touches the right rear. Van Leer goes around. And well, I think the gesture of "what were you thinking" was the way that Van Leer was saying to Willems, no, shouldn't have done that. In the meantime, Boris Maximov has got the lead down to 7/10. Van Rossum is now 1.1 seconds behind Maximov, and another new fastest lap of the race. We are seeing the times literally go, oh, well, hang on a second. That was Maximov through on Van der Weyken at turn 9. So a mistake by the 296 means that it could be 3 drivers in contention for the race win. They've got a back marker. That's more than likely Stephen Bams are out across the line. But we're going to be fractional on time here. 2 laps will now, 2 laps to go. So it's going to be lap 9 out of 11. Oh, and a 10-second time penalty for driver 207. Koen Willems gets more than a smack on the wrist. It's like being sent to detention. And very unsportsmanlike driving. Luca van Leer, new fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 4.342. As with this, one more lap to go, it's the battle between Van der Weyken. Oh, and it's another 10-second penalty for Koen Willems for dangerous driving. So one for unsportsmanlike, unsporting driving standards, and then dangerous driving as well. So 20 seconds. Total time to boot for the 207 and 10 seconds. That's going to put him round about 15th. Last lap underway, and the top three are 4.5 tenths of a second apart. So Van der Weyken, Maximov and Van Rossum now have about 1,150 metres of this circuit to complete. And more to the point, they have still got the back marker just up ahead. And different line taken there by Van der Weyken. Here comes Maximov, and he straight away, Van der Weyken, I thought there was anticipation, there was, because Van der Weyken straight away pulled to the right-hand side of the Europelan, but Maximov trying to get through. Van der Weyken runs wide, and Van Rossum to the outside. Oh, well, they do say that the numbers game don't always work out in your favour. Maximov got through at turn 8. Van Rossum looking to the inside at turn 11. And Van der Weyken will be absolutely kicking himself because the checkered flag is going to be out. Who's going to take the victory? It's the run to the line. It is Boaz Maximov that wins an exciting pre-final, and he wins by 95 thousandths of a second ahead of Storm Van Rossum. Bran van der Weyken did such a great job to keep Boaz Maximov at bay, but it was one moment that Maximov needed, and he took complete and utter full advantage of that. Boaz Maximov wins after 11 laps by 95 thousandths of a second ahead of Storm Van Rossum, who got through around the outside of the entry point into turn 9 on Bran van der Weyken, who up until that lap led every single one of them. Lars Lambers and Lieke van Berkel ran out your top 5 ahead of Vince van der Halle. Koen Willems, Max Siderski ends up finishing 8th ahead of Boris van Haag. Luca van Leer, Kimi Mai in 11th ahead of Justin Fonk, Nuden Engelsman, Priam Lalang, Mohamed El Bouzaki, James van der Poel, Devon Mieta, Lionel Munguia, Marijke Hiemstra, Joshua Rejal, AJ Bergeraaf, Sepp Terhorst and Steven Vams, unfortunately ending up 2 laps down, with Emir Siedkowska retiring on lap number 3.